Thank you guys for joining me for another edition of The Sit Down with Malik Wright, but a special edition because it's one-on-one with Malik Wright, presented by First Star Logistics. I'm joined today by a very special guest, TWSN's lead WNBA writer, Isabel McCarthy. Izzy, welcome to One-on-One with Malik Wright. I know there's some things that we want to discuss today, and particularly your girl, Angel Reese, and the disrespect that she's been receiving. But first and foremost, I want to thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, thank you for having me. I love talking about this. It's a passion right now, and I think this is a topic that needs to be highlighted because of how important it's going viral. Basically, anybody who's literally like hating on her is literally going viral for it, and I think that's just not right.
And and I'm happy that we're actually talking about this because I do feel like there's a part of the media right now that is using Angel Reese's name for clickbait. Some might even say, Malik, you're using Angel Reese's name for clickbait, but I'm not. I'm more so interested in having a dialogue with somebody who covers the sport so closely, that covers Angel Reese so closely, and we can kind of talk about the nasty discourse that has been surrounding her. And I use the term nasty not lightly. I use that because I've seen some egregious takes out there. I've seen Angel Reese is a terrible basketball player, one of the worst basketball players we've seen. When in actuality, I feel like the girl is really talented. I feel like the girl has really set ablaze the WNBA along with the likes of Caitlin Clark, Cameron Brink before her injury, and so many others. Like I really feel like there should be more positive talk regarding Angel Reese. But I have my reasons for thinking, for I guess not for thinking, uh, for understanding as to why the discourse around her has been so brash. And I think in large part of that, it has to do with her personality. I think a lot of people don't like a confident woman who knows what she knows. And what Angel Reese knows is she knows that she's a trendsetter. She knows she puts asses in seats, and she knows that regardless of how you feel about me, whether you like me, love me, or hate me, I'm forcing you to have an opinion because you're watching me. But Izzy, I want you to touch a little more about some of the backlash that Angel Reese gets on a regular basis and why that might be the case.
I think you put it right there on point with how she like acts. I think a lot of people don't understand that when you have an athlete who likes to be confident, it's not cocky. They're confident. And I think a lot of that, you see that in men's sports as well, and a lot of people call them cocky. They're just confident in what they do. They're confident in who they are, and that's what Angel Reese is. She's not trying to be cocky. She's confident because how she talks is by her game. And I think a lot of part of the disrespect is a lot of people don't understand what position she plays. She is a big, she's a forward. And she's not supposed to be this big offensive talent like Caitlin Clark or any of the other rookies like JC Sheldon. She's supposed to be rebounds, and playing defense. And that is what she does. The problem that I have with the disrespect is that she's also playing offense. She may not be consistent. She may not be the best, but she's also putting up points. I mean, she almost dropped a 30 bomb against the Seattle Storm. So I think part of that I can't understand with how, hey, she's not consistent. She's maybe shooting, I don't know, 14.5% from just the field itself. But you have to understand that's not what she was drafted to do. That is just the icing on top of the cake of what she can do offensively. And she's still working on her offensive game. But it's mainly defense and rebounds that are getting her like this big name because that's what she was drafted to do in Chicago.
Let me ask you this. Do you think a large part of this is because of the style that Caitlin Clark plays, right? You see Caitlin Clark, she's much more of a step back, 3-point shooter, likes to have that space, if you will, where because she came out in the same draft class, because obviously they have that type of history, do you think in large part of it is people comparing the two because of the way Caitlin Clark plays? And do you think it's fair in doing so?
I think a lot of people do. I was literally watching a Sky post game conference, and comments of the live, because it was live, were
Mhm.
all about Caden Clark. This is on a Chicago Sky YouTube page where they're trying to do their post game press conference. A large part of this is definitely them trying to compare the two when because they came in the same draft class and because of the history they had in college, it is very easy to compare the two. But at the same time, we have to remember that they play two different styles. This is just like any type of other discourse between two athletes that we try to compare. They're mainly different. They came from the same draft class, or they're very similar, or it's because of that national championship history that they have. but they are both very different. One is a little bit more confident in what they do defensively and rebounds. The other one is way more confident in how they're shooting that 3-point, and that is Caitlin Clark. She is more of that offensive role that everybody likes to see. Everybody wants to see threes. I want to see threes. But what we see with Angel Reese is that she is also adding threes to her game as well. I mean, she went crazy the other night against the Storm as well. I mean, she went 2 for 2 from the threes, and that is something I don't see coming from her game because I have seen her take that hesitation. I've seen it live in person where she was playing against the Fever, where I thought she should have taken a 3, but she hasn't. And you see King Clark, no hesitation taking that 3. That is where that difference comes in between their offensive games. Is there's a little bit of hesitation between one, and there's not really that hesitation for the other.
I'm happy that you brought it up because I think in large part when people break it down, that's like comparing Jarrett McCain to Alessandre Sarr, right? Two different players might be in the same draft class. One plays a little bit more of a bullying style. The other, they're better in space. They're better when they're able to get their threes going and make those open shots. I think that we kind of muddy the waters, right? I think we muddy the waters when it comes to Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark. And it feels like depending on which side of the aisle you're on, you try to move the goalposts to fit whatever narrative. To me, I just think that the discourse around both women have been honestly nasty, been a little bit disrespectful. One thing I want to touch on you on, there was a lot of uproar. A lot of people were making comments because Caitlin Clark was left off of the women's national basketball team. I didn't see the reasoning for her being on there. And a lot of people said, oh, well, it's because her stardom. And I look at it and I say, Angel Reese is the same type of star. She puts ass in the seat, but there wasn't a clamoring for her to be on that team. And I think in large part, people have to realize, even though it's the WNBA and it hasn't necessarily garnered this type of attention that's getting right now, you still have to pay your dues. You still have to pay your dues in the sport. You can't just pop up into a sport because you have a big name and then all of a sudden, hey, let's put her on the women's national basketball team just because they have a big name, just because more eyes are being garnered to the sport. To me, I just think that's kind of backwards.
And I agree. When that first came out, I thought, and I saw the list, I was like, who are you replacing off that list with her? Because there is nobody you can take off that I think would win the U.S. gold. There's just nobody she can replace that she is better than. I mean, you look at literally how many players the Aces have brought on there. There is a reason why. A lot of people will say the point guard, Chelsea Gray, is on there even though she was hurt. Well, there is a reason why she's on there. It's because of that veteran status. And immediately when she came back from injury for the Aces, they started on a 4-game win streak. There is a reason why that these players are on there and that she is not. And I don't like using because she's a rookie, but she's a rookie. She needs to understand, and the fans need to understand, that you don't just come into a big league and automatically you are like the star. You are like going to be on the Olympics. I mean, the Olympics are itself a big deal, and you have to put your best players on that team. And at that point, she was not the best player to be on the team. They already had the roster. They already had very good set of who was going to be playing. And there's a reason why. And I think a lot of people also just don't understand that she also didn't really work out with the USA team. She was with all the March Madness stuff that was going on with Iowa. She didn't really have that chance to actually go do the workouts with Team USA. So, and a big part of that is that I think that a lot of people don't get an outrageous for Aaliyah Boston actually was doing a lot of that working out with Team USA, and she didn't get the call up. Right. So you have to understand that one person is also doing workouts, but they didn't get the call up. One person who was not anywhere close to doing any of those workouts, and there's a reason why she didn't get that call up.
100%. And the last thing I want to touch on with you before we get out of here is I want to talk to you about the media. As someone who's up and coming, covering WNBA, and you do a fantastic job for the Right Way Sports Network. Talk to us a little bit about that. It feels like there's been a lot of viral clips and moments this year of media, I guess, asking outlandish questions or not knowing what to ask. And it's, I wonder sometimes, do they even pay attention to the sport as they should, right? It being their job. But I wanted to kind of get your opinion on the state of media for the WNBA.
I see it on the media as very iffy because of how the questions are being asked, what kind of questions are being asked. I don't think the important questions are being asked to the players and even the coaches. I think a lot of this is they just want that clickbait kind of like title that, hey, I asked this outlandish question, I got a reaction from this player, so now I'm going to use this video and say that is my journalism. That is completely just not what I think reporters should be doing, not what any journalist should be doing. I think you should be asking the hard questions. I think you should be asking everybody questions, including the coaches. What is going on? A lot of these come from non-basketball related questions as well that I think people should be hesitant to be asking those, because you're there for a reason, and that's to be asking about the game, not what is going off the court. If you want to ask off the court questions, you can go ask those in their shoot arounds before the game even starts. So I think things like that are just I don't want to use the word inappropriate. I just think they're just not for the sport itself, because then you make a discourse in the media and a lot of it will be portrayed wrong, because you might be trying to like make a point, but half the time it's going to be portrayed wrong. So I think as somebody who is trying to cover the WNBA right now, I'm trying to put it on a light to where all sides are being seen. Everybody is being heard. You're not just like taking one quote and making a big story about it. You're using the whole entire quote, because we saw that happen with Angel Reese when she was asked some sort of question about like it might have been about the All-Star or something like that, and it was taken way out of control about how like she was willing to be the villain.
Started from the national championship game, and I've been dealing with this for 2 years now, and understanding like, yeah, negative things have probably been said about me, but honestly, I'll take that, because look where women's basketball is. People are talking about women's basketball, but you never would think that we'd be talking about women's basketball. People are pulling up to games. We got celebrities coming to games, sold out arenas, like just because of one single game. And just looking at that, like, I'll take that role. I'll take the bad guy role, and I'll continue to take that on and be that for my teammates. And if I want to be that, and I know I'll go down in history, I'll look back in 20 years and be like, yeah, the reason why we watching women's basketball is not just because of one person. It's because of me too, and I want y'all to realize that.
No, that is how the media is portraying her. So it's questions like those that it's like, well, what should I be asking? What should I not be asking? It's like, what would your grandma say if you asked that question? Something like that is what I think is a good tool to use, because a lot of the times players probably don't even want to answer these questions you guys are asking. I mean, if you see the pressers, it looks like half these players are actually pissed off about the questions that you are asking. So it's like, well, should I at least make a step in the door and ask some great questions, or should I just try and get my clickbait questions off and already just be done? I think that's what we have to look at and see, like, who's really asking the right questions and who should be really getting those credentials.
Izzy, you're what's right about media, right? And that's why I'm so proud of the job that you've done and the name you're making for yourself, covering the WNBA, highlighting a sport that I feel like definitely deserves more coverage, which is why I had a blast, which is why we wanted to do this video, right? Why we talked about doing this type of content with each other. But let the people know where they could follow. Yeah.
So always follow me on Twitter at IsabelMM2. I'm also on Instagram, but not big there. I do a lot of things on Twitch where it's Izzy15, but it's with like an L instead of an I, because somebody already took the I. So it's basically an LZZY15 on Twitch, where I do a lot of side casting of the games. I pull them off on ESPN. I have the TV on the background, so you guys can hear it at least. And I'll just be chatting about it. I like to do a lot of like after the games and talk about like what happened or what kind of records were set, especially after the Fever and Liberty game where Caitlin Clark got the first triple double. I think I went on a complete like total rant about how she got that triple double, but the night before, Angel Reese broke a whole big record, Candace Parker's consecutive double record, and I thought I had to highlight at least that as well. So,
right.
Those are places that you can follow me and tune in.
And we'll make sure we have all her socials in the description as well as attached to the video as well. But Izzy, thank you so much for joining me. I'm sure this won't be the last time we jump on here and we discuss Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark, WNBA as a whole, because there are so many talented females in that sport. But I want to thank you so much. Make sure you guys give this video a like, subscribe to the YouTube channel, follow Izzy, and make sure you tune in so you don't miss when we go live.